So let's start. Empathy beyond me, you. This proposal, as I introduced at the beginning about the issues that we have, is for the community college in general. And the practical ideas encourage poetry teaching with anti-racist practices in partnership with policies. We have a problem in our classroom, as I mentioned earlier, discriminatory discipline practices in our nation's schools disproportionately impact a student of color, a student with emotional, behavioral, and cognitive disabilities, among others like religion, belief, languages, backgrounds, ideology, and many others. So what's happened with this problem? Large numbers of these students are removed from class. They lose opportunities to learn, are suspended or expelled from school because of exclusionary discipline practices. Students become alienated from school and their teachers as well, and they are placed at risk of educational, economic, and social problems. Remember that what's happening in the classroom is going to affect the society and the whole community. I mean, it is said that the first school is home, then the school, but what's happening in the school is going to affect in the family, then in the community. And it's like a vicious circle. Often these youth also have disproportionate rates of contact with the juvenile justice system, what is a real issue, and it's really sad as well. So, but we have a potential solution. At least this is an approach from poetry. We have many issues in the classroom. I just mentioned anti-racism, and of course we have many potential solutions. But since I am a poetry lover, I'm going to share with you this approach. So poetry could become a key instrument to give a student a healthy outlet for searching emotions. Reading and sharing poetry in class can foster trust and empathy in the classroom community. Poetry can allow students to use imagination and symbolic language to describe not only future desires, but also painful experiences. Also, more benefits is to build resilience and to foster social and emotional learning. So poetry allows us to express ourselves. And after analyzing the problem and possible solution, we're going to introduce some practical ideas on how to combine poetry teaching with anti-racist practices. Maybe you're very new in poetry, what is totally fine. We don't have to be an expert. I am not one of them. But I think is good work. Doesn't matter the background, doesn't matter the color, doesn't matter the language. So poetry can gather us. So I was thinking about an activity that is introducing the class by reading an intercultural poem. Why intercultural? Because we want to address the anti-racism. So nothing is better than an intercultural poem. I selected 2 poems for this activity, and will the student listen carefully to the narration. Then we have questions about the poems, visualization, writing notes, brainstorming, discussion, debate, and encouragement to write their own poems. This will be the most important and relevant activity to do during the class. So, what we are going to do while the students are listening carefully to the poem, we are going to allow them and we are going to guide them to write whatever come to their minds. Could be sounds, could be smells, because maybe some words or verbs remember them some past experience, words are maybe isolated words, feelings, emotions, images, maybe. So here, when we talk about poetry, it's not right or wrong. I mean, everything is totally fine and it's totally welcome. So, which are the steps? Okay, how can we organize the class? How is the lesson plan? So today, what I'm going to let you know is all the steps, and also we are going to put into practice this. I'm going to be the teacher and you're going to be the student. So then it's going to be maybe simpler or easier to put you this into practice with your students after having past the experience. The introducing the poem is called Tula, and City Life is a well of poetry readings. And as I mentioned earlier, I chose 2 poems. The other one is Plurality, but I strongly believe and recommend to begin the activity with the first one. That is shorter, especially if it's the first time that you're going to introduce poetry into the classroom. It's better to start with one poem that the vocabulary, especially, is maybe easier, simple. The poem is shorter than the other one that is very, very long with a more advanced vocabulary. Of course, if you already are working with poems, poetry, go ahead with the second one. We can find all the poems in poetryfoundation.com, .org, sorry. That is an foundation from the base in the USA in Chicago. So I recommend to start with the first one. So what we are going to do now, and I invite you, feel free to grab a piece of paper and pen or pencil. I am going to read the poem twice, and feel free to write what comes to your mind, feelings, images, smells, emotions, words, whatever come to your mind, feel free to write. So then I will continue explain all the steps and all the questions that we can ask and so on. So feel free now to relax and listen to the poem. Tula. City life is a well of poetry readings. City life is a well of poetry readings and forbidden tertulias, gathering where young and old, rich and poor, male and female, dark and light, runaway slaves and freed ones, former masters and former servants, all take turns sharing secret verses, rooted in startling new ideas. Each evening I go home with a mind that glows in the light of words which leap like flames. Tula. City life in a well of poetry readings. City life is a well of poetry readings and forbidden tertulias, gathering where young and old, rich and poor, male and female, dark and light, runaway slaves and freed ones, former masters and former servants. All take turns sharing secret verses rooted in startling new ideas. Each evening, I go home with a mind that glows in the light of words which leap like flames. So, we have some oral questions to be asked after reading the poems. We can place the question in a screen or write on a whiteboard or any board and make the student to work in groups or in pairs, depending on the quantity of students. Always I believe and I put into practice a student-centered class, doesn't matter the topic. Always make them speak, communicate each other. That is the main aim that we study a foreign language, to be able to communicate each other. So as much time as possible, it's nice if you keep the student talking together, guiding them, of course, but talking together, putting into practice the language. So the question, what feelings emerged while listening? Which part of the poem was the most meaningful and why? Could you describe the author's feelings? I strongly believe, but this is just my point of view, the same as the singer, that when we write our feelings. Sometimes, well, the singer they got a lyrics that is written by another person, but in my case, when I write poetry, I just write my feelings. Did any memory come to your mind while listening? So here, as I mentioned, all the students are invited to share their opinions in groups, pairs, as they won't depend on the quantity of the students. Then we can swap partners and discussion about the poems, read, exchanging ideas. So may you have new words. That is very good to talk about vocabulary. So we can address new vocabulary. And then complex emotions that emerge while listening, memories, future desires, past experiences, sound, smells, what the poem is telling us, and how you feel regarding the poem. One thing, don't feel disappointed if we don't get good answer for all the students. Not all the students will like poetry, or not all the students will like this specific poem, but it's a way to start. Then when we know our students, their interest, it's easier to find any point that could address their interest better. Write down any situation that comes to your mind, feelings, wishes, sounds, smelling, left, fly your imagination. So that's the idea. And visualize your own journey. And now is the production. We are going to guide the visualization so the student begin to create their own poems. This activity is divided into 2 or more classes depending on the time needed and the quantity of students. So depending if you see the student every day, if you see the student maybe twice a week, once a week, how much time you have with them, 1 hour, 40 minutes, 2 hours. So you will organize the lesson plan according to to the time and the number of students and classes as well. So, but the aim as well is that let the student the opportunity to write their own poem, so they can express their feelings as well. At the beginning, it's not important the metric, it's not important the rhymes. So what we want to address here is the racism. So we are going to focus on that. Then little by little we can dive into the poetry or ways, styles. So exchange of opinions among all about the visualization that have arisen in the group. Discussion through brainstorming, work in a small group of 3 or 5 members, depending on the student, the group. How we can group then, maybe the weak student with the strong one. Maybe the one that never work together. What I usually do is I write numbers 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 and then or 1 1 1 3 2 2 2 3 3 3 and allow them to pick up one number and then number 1 together, number 2 together, number 3 together. I invite the student to share their visualization, show similarities and differences in their choices, and reflect on their choices. It's really nice if you can find different reflections, different emotions, and they can share their emotions. They can, share their feelings, and they can get to know each other better and understand each other better. That's the main aim, again, to respect their differences. Write your own poem. Once all the students have their writing notes, teachers can conduct them to write their own poems. This is what we usually do when I attend the workshops. We have to write our own ideas, and then with these ideas, we write our poems. We can use their notes to start writing our poems. So it's a good beginning. I think a good way to start writing poems. It is suggested to leave the writing for a while and return to the notes in a moment or in the next class. So always it's nice to leave the student time to think, to digest the words, the feelings, to assimilate the new concept, the new experience, the reactions, maybe the memories that came to their minds. That's why sometimes it's better to leave maybe the next class for a while or have a break and then continue. Reorder the notes if necessary into lines, free verses. We work a lot with free verses. Why? Again, because we are not experts in poetry now. We want to address an issue. So free verses is what I think works better. That reflects your feelings and imagination. Another wonderful idea is writing a collaborative poem. How? Each student can share one line of their notes and build among all a collaborative poem. This is a co-learning activity that could develop collaborative solutions that lead to personal, community, and societal well-being. So each of them can contribute with any line that they want. We can have a piece of paper, or we can do it on the board. I mean, it's according to your student interests and abilities and skills. You can choose the best that could work better. So any student add one line, and then when we read the whole poem, we cannot believe what we are reading. We cannot believe their feelings. It's something that really surprised us and surprised them as well. And it's a good way to do an activity as a whole class. Which are the future activities? After training the student with this new literature art, teachers can introduce more complex poems. As I mentioned earlier, it's better to start with one that is simple or short, and then going more in depth with different poetry styles, aligned then with different themes. And we can tell me, but we have already a curriculum and we cannot change the curriculum. That sometimes happens that we get the curriculum and you have to follow it. So maybe we can modify some activity, or we can propose to the principal to add this kind of activity, or we can work with other teachers as well. We don't have to change everything, just add something that address some issues. Which are the things that I feel could work better is anti-racism, social justice, social and emotional learning, inequity, underrepresented voices, among others. And I had a verse from one of my favorite poets, Khalil Gibran. Beauty is not in the face, beauty is a light in the heart. So, by the way, my Greek grandparents were from Lebanon. That's why he's one of my favorite poets. So, regarding what Kent in 2020 said, I would say the most efficient way we can do that is making sure we ourselves are striving to be anti-racist. Then that's going to come across in how we act as an educators. That's why it's very important. I remember I deliver some talk about social and emotional learning, social and emotional skills in teachers. Why is important, and also how to address the SDGs as a teacher. If we as a person, as a human beings, we are striving to be anti-racist, we are in the good way, in the good path. But if not, we have to act too much to be like that. So that's why it's better is first we don't discriminate. We embrace similarities and differences as well. We learn from our context, from our classmates, co-workers, especially working with people from different countries, different background, different belief. It is considered predominant to recognize ourselves regarding anti-racism in order to dismantle it. We have to show them how we behave. So always I say, when I was a child, I wanted to be like my teacher. Why? Because I saw my teacher like, wow, the best, because of how she behaved. So this is what we have to reflect in our students. So they would like to be like us in our behaviors. And some researchers affirm that our social and emotional competencies influence the quality of the learning experiences they offer their students. So if we manage our emotions, if you are able to manage our emotions, if you are going, if you are able to accept and respect everyone, this student will see in us. It's not something that, even in my case, I'm working with adults, they see how the teachers are and they always speak. No, because my previous teacher said that, my previous teacher said this. So you can see the thing that they remember about their previous teachers. And what this is very important. So the takeaways about this, through poetry, what we can do through poetry, why I spend a lot of time listening about poetry and anti-racist. So we can cultivate anti-racist mindsets. We can manage fluently and effectively intercultural communication skills in and out of school. We can integrate digital skills as well. And resilience and emotional learning, awareness of different backgrounds, foster creative and critical thinking, systematic view, reflection, senses of belonging. That's very, very relevant as well. Critical reflection about their own social, emotional, and cultural competencies and positive social behaviors. So regarding digital skills, also what we can do when talking about the collaborative poem, we can use a Google Drive or any kind of platform that you use, so we can share among all the students and we can add our verse. This is a nice way as well. Manage an inclusive and respectful meeting to establish rapport according to different background cultures with awareness of global context, especially nowadays that the situation is really sad. It's mostly of the countries. Empower people about anti-racism issues. Address social and structural determinants of inequities. Elevate student voice and vision. And take into account the structural racism and stigma against immigrants. We have last year a very sad issue here about immigrants. That is not common, but well, some people are against. So as a teacher, I consider that we have the power, we are empowered to guide the students, to teach them or to guide them how to be better citizens. Beyond, I always say, beyond English, beyond grammar, beyond vocabulary, how to be good people, how to be good citizens, good human beings. Doesn't matter the culture, doesn't matter the background, doesn't matter the religion. Be good people, respect each other, love each other, help each other. And through poetry could be one of many other solutions. And also talk about SDGs. That is a very nice area as well, field to talk the 17 SDGs and how the student can put them into practice in their daily life. Yeah, well, here we can find all the resources. As I mentioned earlier, poetryfoundation.org is where we can find a vast array of poems, different topics, different authors from different countries. Then thank you very much for joining us. If you want to contact me, there we have my email and my LinkedIn as well. I hold a double surname because of my father and my mother, Italian and and Lebanese. Well, if you have any question, any doubt, anything that you want to share, any experience, feel free to.
Thank you,
to do it.
Maria. Thank you very much for your presentation. And now I will leave the floor for the attendees to ask any questions. You have 5 minutes. You can unmute your mic and ask any questions, or you can type in the chat box.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, I asked my student to write poetry, and it was very funny because they had never done it before. So it was very, I mean, I didn't want to address this issue just because we were learning new vocabulary. So I say, okay, and I was last year with intermediate level, and all of them have to write one verse and then pass the piece of paper and add another one. And when we read at the end, it was very funny because let's say the blue wall and then the animal, and was but it was another way in that case to learn new vocabulary, to have fun in the class, to do a collaborative activity, and learn new vocabulary. So yes, I did it. Yeah, and was very funny with a different aim, but yes. And when we as a student, or when we talk about student about poetry or poems, writing poems, they believe that it's something very difficult. Is for poets, just for poets. They don't know, or maybe they never had experience to learn that we all are poets. We can write. So yeah, was very nice activity. And when we take into account what the students said, what the students share, they feel that they belong to the classroom. They feel that the teachers care. The teachers want to know them. And it's very nice. It's a very nice experience. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, Maria, for presenting. And I will move on to our next session. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, Maria. We appreciate your input at our conference today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.